Hey all, welcome to another how-to Weymouth 9's Battletech Bastion. Alright, basically what I want to show you is how to make walls for use in your games. Now these aren't going to win any like major awards, but they get the job done. I use these walls all the time and they work perfectly for the game. Basically, what I want to show you is how to go from 1-inch polystyrene to a 2-inch tall wall that you can use in game. It's 2 inches tall, so that would count as like a level 2 wall, as you can see. A mechs can hide behind, block line of sight, and whatnot. And the end result will be that the mech, you can also hit. They're wide enough that a mech can stand on it too. I've actually had people do that in the game, so. But anyway, first what I want to go through is a list of supply. Now this isn't how you have to do it. This is how I do it. So, like I said, if you guys got your own way of doing it, hey, let me know. If I like your way better, I may wind up adapting the way you do it to my own. But anyway, first, let's go through a list of supplies you're going to need. First, obviously, the most important part is polystyrene. Now, I use the pink. I know a lot of people. I use the pink just because that's what I use most often. There's no real. You can use the blue. I don't like using the white because all those little beads will show through once it's painted up sometimes, and if you're going to use polystyrene, go with the pink or the blue. I just prefer to use the pink. That's the first thing you're going to need. Now, this is what I use a T-square, cheap little T-square that I picked up at Michael's. You can get them anywhere, I guess. You'll see why you'll need everything I show you. You'll see why I have it out. You need a toothbrush. You're going to need assorted brushes, obviously for painting. A Sharpie or a marker of any type. The color. This one happens to be brown. It doesn't matter what color. I've used multiple colors. This one just happens to be the one I grabbed. Sandpaper. I think this is 60 grit. You can use a finer grit. Again, this is what I grabbed. A razor knife or some kind of cutting utensil. Now this is something you may or may not need, but it's good to have on hand. You can get these at a dollar store. That's where I got mine, because I beat the hell out of mine. That's why I don't. Basically, I use a hot knife for cutting these lines in the walls. You'll see why later. You'll see how it's used later. And I have this old rusty T-square. Yeah, this is just something I personally use, but you'll see why later. This is piece of a tape measure that I use occasionally for stuff. You'll see. This is an optional item. Polyacrylic. It's a water-based polyurethane, basically. If you want to, you can put. You know what? I'll tell you later. Okay, and let me get this out of the way here. Obviously, you're going to need paints. You start off with black, and I would suggest at least 3 different shades of gray. I just happen to use Apple Barrel brand paints. That's just the brand I use. You can use any brand you want. If you want to use house paint, go for it. But I would suggest a black and 3 shades of gray. Let me see. Oh, yeah. Now this is something I use a lot the plastic off of blisters from when I buy my Battle Mechs. I save the plastic part, and I use them for paint pots. You'll see me using these later. I think you've seen me using them in another how-to video I did. So I use some of those, and of course, you've seen me using this before. This is my hot wire scroll table, or hot wire foam factory scroll table. It's just basically a hot wire cutter. I don't know if you can really see too well, but it's just what I use to actually do the majority of my foam cutting. You can use other brands or whatever you want. Actually, I used to use this brand, a Woodland Scenics foam cutter with a bow and a cutting guide. It's a cheaper option. It's something you can use. I just like the scroll table better. Or you could use a bandsaw or anything to cut it if you want. But that's your basic list of supplies that I will use, some of them being optional. That's basically what you're going to need to do this project. Okay? Alright, let me clear all this stuff off and get set up, and I'll show you how to do this. Alright guys, I got my stuff set up now. But okay, now I have this guide here on my table, but I want to make, being that I'm cutting a 2-inch wall, 2-inch top there. Pardon me. Being that I'm cutting a 2-inch high wall from 1-inch foam, I have to make sure that the guide is set up 2 inches away from the wire. Ow, you know what? Don't touch hot wire. That hurts. So I just take this old busted up tape measure piece I have here and run it along, make sure it's 2 inches. And I've already done that, so you don't have to watch me do the whole thing. Something else. Okay, it's 2 inches. Now, I don't know how well you can see this, but just the light here. You have to also make sure that your foam is square, because you're cutting walls and they gotta look square, blah blah blah, you know what I mean. So here's my beat up old square that I use. Now I don't know if you can really see this too well, but this isn't quite square. So this side of the wall, that's pretty flat, so I'm going to base up all my squaring from this side of the wall. So I'll just take this, take my square and run along against the guide here and cut a small piece off. You don't want to cut a 2-inch wide section, because you're just trying to square off the chunk of foam that you're using. Okay, I got it squared off now, so I can actually start cutting my walls. Okay, now since my chunk of foam has got a square corner here, I got something to work on, or base my walls on. So basically, I just want to have it snug up against the guide here, and then just start pushing it through with nice, steady, even cuts. Now these are probably going to be small sections of wall that I'm cutting right now. But the small sections of wall work really well, especially if you play on a hex mat, because then you can make easy adjustments to how your wall setup is for the game. Because I've tried using large walls, and smaller pieces just wind up working better. Takes a little bit more to set up, but and right there's get this in focus here. And right there's your 2-inch high wall, the very beginning so far. Okay. Now I gotta tear this down to set up something else to show you. So give me a minute here. Okay. Now this is the part where you want to mark the wall, in your in whatever sections you're going to have, such as this is. So this is where you want to, actually say, okay, do I want it? Now, being that I personally play on 1.5-inch grid hexes on for my BattleTech games, I'm going to make them out in 1.5-inch sections. Now I have made 2-inch ones for someone else because they play on 2-inch. But for this purpose, I'm going to be measuring. For this, I'm at 1.5 inches. Okay, now this particular section, I don't know if you can see the measurements there. See how long it is. Now it's a little longer than 3 inches, but that's okay. I'll do the off-cutting later, or cut that end piece off. So, okay, basically, just want to make a mark at the 1.5 and 3-inch line. Now you want to do that on 3 sides. Okay, now I've got my spots marked, but I need to make lines for them. So that's why I have the T-square here. Makes for drawing the lines on really easy. Again, you want to draw lines on 3 sides. You see the T-square will help you make up really straight lines. Okay, now I've got my lines marked, or my sections marked out. So now is where I would use this hot knife. Now it's currently turned off, so touching it is not a problem. This whole wire here gets hot, so when I turn it on, I'm just going to lay it on these sections here like that, and it'll burn in. Now I'm not going to do it on the end because you'll see why later. Why I'm not going to burn down into the end here. So let's turn this on and get to it. Okay. Now here's why you put the lines on. So you actually have a guide when you're putting this hot knife down to it to melt into the foam below. Now you don't want to go down too deep because your wall's going to fall apart, eventually break in half. Because I don't know if you can see how deep I went into there. Not about that deep. Maybe no more than 1/4 of an inch. Maybe less than 1/4 of an inch deep. That way you'll still have your, well, you understand. Okay, here it goes. Okay. I don't know if y'all can see that burn mark there, or melt mark. So, there you go. Alright. Give me a minute. I gotta set the table back up. You know what? It may seem like a pain in the ass and I'm tearing stuff up, tearing it down and setting it back up. Well, that's only for the purposes of this video, because when I make these walls, I make a lot at one time. So I'm not going to be, when you're making it yourself, you're going to be doing many pieces, and you can just do all the one step at one time. So you won't be setting up and tearing down all the time. Okay, I've got the scroll table up, the wires back on, and I'm ready to take care of this end piece and make this a 3-inch wall, or a 2-section wall, whatever you want to call it. So this is why I didn't actually score this line, but I still needed the line. So I'm just going to cut this end piece off with my square here. I just have to line it up with the hot wire cutter, which can be a pain in the ass sometimes, and cut it off. Okay, now I have my 3-inch wall, the offcut, And basically I have my wall just unpainted with no paint on it. So let me tear this down again and I'll get right back at it.